You get to Devens, Massachusetts after that whole thing. Obviously, you never really subjected to the whole mental of the jail person. Like, you know, because a lot of dudes, they get macho in jail. They go in there try to stay in there or whatever. But you never subjected to that.
No, very, very grounded. And spirituality was my foundation. You know what I mean? So just going back to my mom has always been into the church, right? But she never forced us to go to church. You think what I'm saying? But, you know, you always hear the music. You know, you always see her doing Bible study. She was usher in the church, things like that. So my foundation was built. But she just never like mashed it on us, right? So once I got in, and when I got to Cumberland, and in that 30-day stretch that I was telling you about, so my cell buddy, he was from D.C., dude named Curtis, right? Christian boy. He was from D.C., and he knew a lot of my homeboys from Baltimore, but he was into the church, right? Man, I come in the cell one day, I had been drinking some hooch. You know, that's the jailhouse joint, right?
Absolutely.
This motherfucker, like it just came straight from the cut rate. I mean, this shit was for real, you hear me? And I came in the cell one day before he did, and I was on the bunk, yo, and I was like, out of it. He like came in, he like the box, so he like, Sully, what's up, Sully, what's up, Sully? Mm-hmm. I was like, hey, he was like, yo, hey, check us out, man, I'll talk to you in the morning, because you ain't know, whole demeanor changed. I'll talk to you in the morning, man, you know what I mean? Yeah, the next day, feet on the floor. I come from brushing my teeth and shit, come back in. He said, man, let me tell you something, man. He said, man, first couple days you've been here, I like you, seem like a good guy. See, a lot of your homies like you. See, obviously, you're a stand-up guy. These guys giving you a whole bunch of stuff or whatever. He said, but let me tell you something, man. You have to find you somewhere else to live. He said, I know a lot of your homeboys, and you're going to know a lot of them, too. He said, when that dope hit the compound, or when they got some hooch and stuff like that, you're going to see another whole different person. He said, man, you ever come back in my cell like that again, you got to find somewhere else to go.
In a jail cell.
What?
A nigga tell you gotta move.
Man, listen here. But it wasn't, he almost didn't, he ain't lean on me, but I knew his whole status. He was cold-blooded Christian boy. I seen consistency, what he was doing for the first couple of days I was there. And then he told me, and then he schooled me, he gave me what it was, and then schooled me, and let me know. Then he witnessed to me, you know what I mean? Then he told me what the Lord did for me. Give me a little bit about his life, or whatever. That following Wednesday, guess where I was at? Wednesday, a Bible study. That following Friday, guess where I was at? Up the chapel, listening to T.D. Jakes tapes. Sunday, guess where I was at? In church. Whole walk changed. And guess what? When my whole walk changed, dope hit the compound. My motherfucking homies up there fighting each other and everything because one of them got some dope and he didn't give the other one some and he had to find out through somebody else that he had some dope. You know what I mean? And the shit was just like crazy. And then from that point on, got my little job, you know what I mean? Family coming up to visit me, getting my little mail, you know what I'm saying? Going to my little commissary. Focus. In that 30-day period, you know what? Man, I ain't doing this shit no more. And I never forget Brother Courage for that because he didn't make me feel like I was no motherfucking sucker or nothing. It was just like a talking to that you needed. Like, he talked to me like he was like a big brother or like a father. Like, yo, you seem like you're a good guy, man. You know what I'm saying? You got a lot of fucking time to do. You know, you ain't got time to be getting caught up in this shit like this. Your time is going to be whatever you make it. You know what I mean? And he gave me that, and I'm so grateful to this day.
Yeah, for real.
No question.
That's real talk.
No question. Yep.
Damn, that's wild, yo. Like, that whole experience and all that shit, because it could have been way worse.
Oh no, yeah, I could have got on my high horse and been like, "What the fuck you talking about?" Or straight pop him, and it could have went crazy.
I mean, because off the basis of jail, and for those that don't know, if a nigga tell you gotta move out your house,
no question. Bro, but
be...
it's a difference between if he bitching you, he treating you like a whore.
Yeah,
you know
that was the thing.
No.
It was like more so of a lesson.
Yeah, straight respect, telling you like firm, like, yo, check this out, man, like.
Because he know what come with that.
Absolutely.
Okay, so
absolutely.
So more so, it was like more so he know what come with that.
Absolutely.
More
and
so
he had been up there for a while, and he knew all my homies. So when you first come in, you knew everything. You don't really know. And I had even got job like caught up in that hot shit. Who's hot and who's not? You know what I mean? Like, yo, that nigga told him such. Or when the homies come in, you want to see their paperwork and all that shit. You caught up in that shit if you caught up in jailing. You dig what I'm saying?
Exactly.
But once I start focusing in the church and really accept responsibility for the life that I was living and all the little kids I led astray and all those things like that, how I hurt my mom and all that kind of shit, leaving my daughters out there, you know what I mean, to fend for themselves or whatever, man, it really like took a toll on me. So it's like, you know what, I got to get my shit together. And that's what I did, and that gave me some solitude. They gave me peace, you know what I mean? And I was able to move forward. And I'll tell you, I was able to move forward so much, and I established my own stance up there. Cumberland is predominantly Baltimore and DC and Virginia, right? But you get your sprinkles of guys from all over there, whatever, right?
Hagerstown too.
Yeah. But I mean Maryland, you know,
Yeah.
DMV area, right?
No, for sure.
And then you get your few little New York guys, you get your few other people, and you get say about 1,400 guys up there. Maybe a good high 600-700 is from the DMV area. You think what I'm saying?
Well,
So the guys from Baltimore City, you may have maybe about 300 guys from Baltimore City there, right? Maybe 70 of them Muslims, right? Maybe out of 70, maybe 20 of them on their deen, like really like into their religion. You think what I'm saying? Maybe 10 of them like showing up, make office a lot every single day and like, you know, doing what they're supposed to do, whatever, right? So then maybe out of the next 70 dudes are Christian guys who go to church, you know what I mean? Holidays, all that kind of stuff. Then when you break it down, you may got a good 25 guys who go to church every week. Then you may got a good 15 guys who always going to Bible study, who going to prayer meeting, who doing what they supposed to do, whatever like that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I fell amongst that 15, you know what I mean? Because I really got on my shit. And then I'm hooping, and I'm really popular. Everybody really like me. Dude, I got baptized in Cumberland, right? Did you know I had at least about 45 or 50 of my homeboys came there just because I was getting baptized, and I'm telling you, at least 25 of them was Muslims. They came in the church because of who I was, the stance that I was taking, and they supported that. You dig what I'm saying? Man, you'd be surprised the stance that you can take and how a motherfucker respect the man. If you're a sucker on the street, you're a sucker in the joint. If you're a man in the street, you're gonna be a man in the joint. It's no different, it's just another society. But if you wanna sneak and steal and be cruddy and all that shit, yeah, I mean, you're gonna be the same way when you get in the joint, man.
yeah, for sure. That's what you breathe.
Yeah, ain't no question. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And then you had to have a certain level of comfort and confidence within yourself. You know what I mean? I knew what I had to do. I knew the choices that I made. So this is what I owed. I had to pay what I owed. When I headed up to Fort Devens, my mom had been to every joint to see me. Every joint, right? So I got 3 daughters, Charlie's Angels, right? So 2 of them the same age, and one of them is 3 years younger than them. So when I came on my fair bit, my daughters were 3 and a half, getting ready to turn 4. My baby girl was 8 months old. When I came home, she was getting ready to turn 14. They was getting ready to turn 17, man. I subjected my daughters to molestation, to prostitution, to get hooked up on drugs, to run into a motherfucker like me, or whatever. I left them out there. With your daughters, man, you supposed to set the bar of how they supposed to be treated. They supposed to be your first love. My daddy. You know what I mean? But I established that with them even through being away in prison. Because when I was home, I still had the 3 of them at Chuck E. Cheese. One I'm in the car seat, the other 2 running around in Chuck E. Cheese, whatever. So I put my time in for the time that I was home, you know what I mean? But when I went in, I had another girlfriend who, each one of my daughter's mothers was gracious enough because they knew I was a dad when I was home. They allowed my girl to come and get my daughters along with my mom and bring them from joint to joint to joint to joint with me. So they grew up in the joint with me, from pictures to letters to all that shit. And then when I go in and get good jobs working in Unicorn and things like that, I could send $100 home to this one. I could send $200 home to that one. I could send birthday and Christmas money home. That's what a man gonna do. He gonna make something happen. You think what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So I get to Fort Devens. The day that these motherfuckers give me a pass at Fort Dix, I hadn't been outside in about 9 years. These motherfuckers give me a bus ticket and say, be at Fort Devens by such and such time. Be where? You gotta catch the Peter Pan. The Peter Pan? What the fuck is the Peter Pan? Yeah, but you know me, old Slick Willie. My daughter mother was living over in Philly. She meet me over in Jersey at the bus, you know, at the bus stop or whatever. She ride me, you know, she parks her car, get a bus ticket and ride with me up to New York, right? I get there, had like 50 minutes to play with. Man, we come out on 42nd Street, right? When I come out, when I tell you they got an art to the way they walk up that motherfucker, I'm telling you, look like they walking through each other. They walking so fast, streets jam-packed, right? So as soon as I stepped up on 42nd Street, man, I had to step back and put my back against the wall for 2 reasons. Number one, East Baltimore had to kick in to realize that, man, get your burns together, boy, and walk. And then secondly, I really felt like everybody knew that I was in prison and that I was outside. So I really had to gather myself, you know what I mean? And let me tell you something. In the midst of us walking around the corner to the little to a little seafood spot. That's what somebody say. And they missed all the motherfucking people. Charlie Hurt. And my daughter mother looked at me like, who the fuck know you? I'm paying all these people. A dude that was in the joint with me. And I mean, he was on his shit real quick. Yeah, boy, what's happening? Glad to see you, whatever. It was gone. Because he was on his schedule. He had to get what he was getting at. But I couldn't tell him that I was still locked up. You know what I mean? And she was like, I cannot believe all these fucking people up here. Somebody know you. You know what I mean? Yeah, and so we go around the corner, and this is my first opportunity of seeing motherfuckers, you know, got different cars. She pulling out different cars. I'm gonna use this one. No, I'm gonna use it. Starting on me. And give me something to motherfucking eat. You know what I mean? So that's it, right? So in the midst of me getting a little crab cake or whatever like that, man, she let me call my mom, right? I had talked to my mom on the phone. I was telling her that I was in transit or whatever like that. And she was like, baby, you know, I'm just keep having these headaches or whatever, you know what I mean? And you know, I just don't know. I said, well, Mom, well, you know, you want to go get it checked out? You know, everything was going to be good or whatever. You know what I mean? She was like, well, baby, you know, it is what it is. You know, you got a lot of pictures and everything is good. Oh, baby, what is you talking about? You know what I mean? So my mom already knew that she was feeling some kind of way, right? Man, how about when I get to Fort Devens, I'm thinking I was going right on the compound. I didn't go right on the compound. They ain't had no bed available. So when I get over in the shoe, you know what I mean? I'm like trying to get the officer over there to let me use the phone or whatever. He ain't let me use the phone. I stayed over there like 3 or 4 days.
So did you go straight to the ranch where?
Yes, I went straight to the camp. Yep,
Oh,
I
you
went
was
straight
up the street?
No.
Okay.
I went from the bus station from New York on the bus up to Devens.
Okay.
So she said her goodbyes. He even came up on the bus, see where I was sitting there, pissed on a little territory, making sure ain't no other chicks there up there or whatever. Girl, get your ass on up there, going back to Jersey, you know what I mean? So I get up there, and like I said, I'm thinking that they had a bed for me. They didn't have no bed, so I had to go over in the shoe, right?
Yeah.
So while I was over in the shoe, I found out that my mom had a massive stroke, man. A massive stroke. So when the police came down, he opened up the slot and just set the phone on the slot and started walking back down. So me and my son, buddy, like, what the fuck is that? Because we ain't able to get no phone calls already. We just got there, right? So, Hurt, call home. What's that about? You know what I mean? So, man, motherfucker heart pumping a little bit, like, call home. But I knew if it was grave at the time, that the chaplain would have came through. You know what I mean? So, call home, call my brother. He's like, Chuck, mommy had a stroke, man.
Which brother is this that you talking?
This is the second one that went to the military,
Second,
right?
okay.
So now at this time, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm 1 from the bottom.
Yeah.
So 1, 3, and 5 are alive.
Yeah.
2 and 4 that got killed. He was the one who that was caring for my mom. He the one when I called home and he said, man, mommy had a stroke, man. He said, but Chuck, she a fighter, you know what I mean? But it left her paralyzed on the right side. It left her nonverbal, and she was confined to the bed. So we went straight old school. Get that motherfucking furniture out of that dining room. And we put mama bed up in that joint, you know what I mean? Put that hospital bed up in there, you know what I mean? So I was up there for a whole year and some change. And then, be honest, if you remember when they let me out, they let me fly in town. I don't know if you have been gone yet. In 2007, they let me go on the front. Let me a 36-hour pass. And old John Burke, he got his brother to get me a plane ticket. You know what I mean? His brother came from New Hampshire, and gave me $100. He gave me an overnight bag, gave me a cell phone, took me to the motherfucking airport. You know what I mean? I had never been to an airport other than going to Hawaii. You know what I'm saying? So took me to the airport and got me through whatever. And man, when I flew back into Baltimore, my buddy that was in Fort Dix with me, he had got home first, and I called him, and he came and got me from the airport. And man, I got back in the city, and I'm telling you, the motherfucking everything looked so like condensed, like I could have touched both sides of the street. You know what I mean? With one hand, I mean like this, you know what I mean? Touch them at the same time. And then when I opened up the door and went in the house, it was like I could have walked straight out the back door, because I'm used to being in open fields. You don't see no row houses or nothing close like that, you know what I mean? So, you know, when I got in and my mother see me, she was like so happy. She said, very competent, knew who everybody was, she just couldn't speak, you know what I mean? And just confined to the bed. And I just remember just sitting up with her all night long, almost for the whole 36 hours, man, you know? And I watched my brothers, man, take care of my mother. Dude, I'm talking about, they was just cleaning shit and piss. all day, you know what I mean? And I could just imagine how shameful it was to my mom to have your boys caring for you, you know what I mean? But me, I'm looking at shit, all that shit in fish she cleaned all these years, that is the least we could do, you know what I mean? But man, I was so like envious of my brothers, man, because man, I seen them undress my mother, wash her up, clothe her, change the linen, put new linen all on while she was still in the bed. And they ain't say shit. They was already in harmony. I was like, man, I can't wait to get home and jump into this shit. You know what I mean? And my brother, the one who I was telling you, well, both of them at the time, but my one brother, the one who I called, was in the military the second time, getting high as a motherfucking helicopter. And if it wasn't for him, my mom would have been passed, man. He knew every motherfucking medication. He knew every supply. He knew every doctor. He knew everything, how to start her food, because she had the feeding tube. He knew how to do everything, champ. But getting higher was like keeping him sane, you know what I mean? Because he was like overwhelmed. You know, he got to pay bills. He got to do this. He got to do that. And she can't talk to tell him, you know what I mean? So he had to figure shit out on the fly. So, like I said, that 36 hours that I was home, man, it was like, I just assured my mom I'd be right back. Because February I was coming to the halfway house of '08. Like, I'd be right back. And she kind of like got her second wind, man. And how I was telling you that it really hurt me because I set like a bad precedent for a lot of the young kids. So when I used to be in the joint, I used to call home and say, well, how Mike doing? Yo, how little Timmy doing? How doing, whatever? Oh, yo, that nigga hustling, yo. Oh, man, yo just got shot up. Oh, yo, locked up. What? These guys played on my little team. You know what I mean? But I introduced them to the life indirectly, you know what I mean? So one little dude, while I was at my mother's house, they heard word just travel, right?
Mm-hmm. I got you.
Word just travel that you know, that I was in town. A couple people come around, another little young dude who always remember that I always give him a little money around the store, whatever, dap me up. Okay, top. Then you always got the other motherfuckers. Yeah, boy, what's up, boy? You gotta connect when you was up in there. What you talking about? Man, I'm home to see my mother, yo. What you talking about? And you up. You know what I mean? So, no, ain't nobody, come on, dude. Come on, yo. Then when he wanted to laugh it off or whatever. You know what I mean? But it was just amazing, man, how, you know, you got one guy who was a little teeny kid when you was gone, called himself paying homage or paying respect, you know, smashed me up with a couple $100. Totally wasn't expecting it. And then you got another motherfucker talking about, boy, you gotta connect. I already told you, man, years ago I ain't getting down no more. You know what I mean? So I like, yo, and I just like brush that shit off, man. But anyway, you know, upon my release and getting back to, you know, getting back to Baltimore, man, I was able to go and relieve my brother of all the legalities. You know what I mean? I became my mom's legal guardian and beneficiary. So, you know, I took care of all the bills and paid everything. And then at this juncture, she had a little money in her account. But I didn't expect him to not pay himself, even though he was his mom. He stopped working, even though he was getting high. He stopped working to care for his mom. So whatever's left over, champ, that's yours after you pay them bills. You know what I'm saying? That's only fair, right? So, but you know, once I came, you know, I come home working 2 jobs. I was a mentor, working at Kmart, working for Sears and all that kind of shit. And got in the mix of helping take care of mom or whatever, you know what I mean? And, you know, due to the complications of her stroke, man, she had the stroke in 06, right? I get home in '08, so she already gave me, went back for 2 years. She gave me from '08 to 11. Soldier. You hear what I'm saying? Soldier, man. Gave me 5 years, man, on her back. Not saying shit. But just every day was like this. She could nod her head, she could point, you know what I mean? Or, you know, she say so much with her eyes. You think what I'm saying? And man, so mom passed away. But in the midst of her passing away, God knew my heart as it relates to my dad. God knew my heart. When I was in the joint, I was taking self-help programs. I was taking parenting programs, all kind of shit. Had a whole bunch of conversations with God at night saying, God, man, you know how much I wanted to, you know, have a relationship with my dad. You think what I'm saying? I knew who he was. When I was home, ripping and running, 13, 14, 15 years old, I see his cab number riding down the street. Man, I'm running through traffic and everything. Choom, taking off, catching that motherfucker. When I catch up to him, whatever, man, he give me 10, 15 hours. I was like, that's my father today. Happy shit. I see my father. But he never did shit for me. You know, I was potentially that guy in the town at one time, legitimately, hooping, going to school, doing the right things. You know, winning my little MVPs, playing this tournament, playing that tournament. Nigga ain't never brought me past sneakers, never been to no games, none of that shit.
Yeah.
And in my mind, I knew how it was gonna play out. Hey, yo, Slim, check this out, man. Why you ain't never uphold your responsibilities as a man, man? Why you ain't never, you know, why you were never dad to me, whatever. Man, but God wasn't having that. That's how I wanted to do it. When I got that opportunity to be in front of him, man, God took that shit in another whole direction. You know what he said to me? He said, you want this relationship with your father? I said, yeah. He said, twice a child, once an adult. Twice a child, once an adult. What are you talking about, God? You know what I mean? You know, when you're born, you solely dependent on your caretaker, whoever it is. We start getting a little grown, we start smelling ourselves, then we hear us now, and then we hit our 70s or 80s, or, you know, you hit your health issues where you're starting to decline, then you go back into a childlike state again. So God tells me, like, listen here. And I like to make light of my relationship with the Lord because I love him. So, but I talk freely, you know what I mean? So he was like, so I'm gonna give them back to you, but it ain't gonna be no taking you get no sneakers and, you know, coming and watch you hoop and all that shit. That's over with. You know what I mean? I'm gonna give them back to you going into the childlike state. What you wanna do? Man, God, stop playing with me and give me my motherfucking father, man.
Yeah.
Stop playing with me. So at 40 years old, my dad was back in my life, right? He passed away when I was 48, right? Man, listen here. I had the time of my life with my dad from 40 to 48, champ. Felt like the whole 48 years I was with him. Cutting his hair, going to every doctor's appointment. You think what I'm saying? Every time he having surgery, I'm over there, whether it's all night, doing whatever. You know what I'm saying? Got some of the greatest laughs of my life being around him. So grateful for technology, man. I got endless motherfucking videos and pictures of me and him or whatever. You think what I'm saying? And man, it just, so grateful, man. You know what I mean? So I got home, I was able to bury my mom and my dad, man. You know what I mean? After all that time. And I ain't want them to, this is how I am. This is my whole take on life, right? Tomorrow is going to be Thursday, regardless of what the fuck happened. I don't care what you're going through. Oh, tomorrow going to be Thursday, regardless of what happened. So prison didn't institutionalize me. It made me understand the realities of things. So whatever you're going through, I don't believe it's a good situation or bad situation. I believe it's what you make it. Because I ran into a whole lot of dudes that had 15 years like I did it. But they want to smoke roll rights. They want to catch drugs every time they come in. They want to fuck with boys. They want to do whatever. I'm working every day. I'm talking on that motherfucking phone every day. I'm going on visit every week. I'm going to commissary every week. I'm hooping every day. I'm in Bible study. I'm in church. I'm catching mail every day. I mean, our 15 years was the same 15 years. Time is time. It's just about what you do with your time. You know what I mean? So I understood that, you know, life is what you make it. Decisions, good or bad, whatever, is how you respond to it. And above all things, you should have gained something from it. You know, understand what your weaknesses are, what your strengths are. You know what I mean? And knowing and finding who you are. So that's what it was for me, man. And I was able to come back and do right by my parents. You know what I mean? The Bible tells you if you do right, paraphrasing, if you do right by your parents, your days should be long. And I did right by my mom and my dad, and I sleep good at night. You know what I'm saying? When my dad passed away, my dad waited till I came back up to Gilchrist to the hospice space, because he knew that his girlfriend at the time couldn't stand him dying on her. When I came back up in there, I shaved him, right? But before I started shaving, he looked at me and said, he hadn't opened his eyes in 2 days. He looked at me and said, it's gone. And guess what I did? Still shaved him. But at the same time, like in my mind, it's never gone. Feel the pulse in his neck, that shit was faint. You think what I'm saying? She's sitting right there, she don't know what's going on. So I'm steady shaving. She turned her head, you know what I mean? I'm putting my ear down to his nose to see if I feel any breathing or anything, whatever like that. Nothing. Damn, wipe that side of the face off, lap up the other side, shave that joint down or whatever. Ultimate test. She turned her head again. I don't care if you sleep, doing whatever. Motherfucker sit there fingering your nose, you gonna jump and do something. I did that, nothing. At that point, I just went on, just closed his eyes on down, you know what I mean? Went on and finished shaving the other side, wiped it off. Now in my mind, I'm still like, man, this thing gone. Cleaned up the basin and everything, took it in there, emptied it, come back. Now I want to bring her in. you know what I mean, let her know what's going on, what I'm thinking, right? So now I'm like feeling on his chest, feeling on his neck or whatever, and she like, what's wrong? I'm like, I don't know. I already know, but I want to ease it to her. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Check this out, man. I said, I don't know, Miss Bonnie. And she was like, well, call for the nurse. So I like hit the button, nurse ain't come. I said, you know what, I'm gonna go out there and get her, man. And I'm gonna just give a shout out to Gilchrist, you know what I mean, hospice. Now they so motherfucking compassionate, dude. I mean, some of the most compassionate people ever, you know what I mean? At a time like that, when your family going through something, especially, they've been doing that for years, so they know what's going on. I went out there, man, it was this little white lady named Miss Linda, man. And I said, hey, Miss Linda, I said, can I speak to you for a minute? She's like, yeah, baby. I said, can you come check my dad? I said, I think he's gone. And she was like, sure, baby. I mean, all of her language was so comforting and so compassionate, man. We go down there to the room, man. She even pulled out her stethoscope, like so fucking compassionate. Like, she probably could look as soon as she walked in the door, felt that he was gone already. But for the sake of the family, we're gonna go through the formalities. You know what I'm saying? Man, she put them joints in so slow, and she put it to his chest again, came back, took them off. Now, mind you, we know resuscitation, right? So we know that that's to bring you back, right? So I'm thinking suscitation is the root word or whatever, right? But that's all I heard. So it sounded like to me, she said, there's no suscitation, right? So I knew what she meant. Miss Bonnie said, what she mean? I said, she said he gone, Miss Bonnie. Ah! Dude, I mean, lost her fucking mind. People came running from all other places in there to see what's going on. But this just to let you know, what did you think was going to come out of us being in hospice? He had already started going through the phases. They talk about the death rattle and you know, but him looking at me when I came there, champ, didn't spook me, didn't do none of that shit. What he looked at me and said was, thank you for everything you did, boy. Yeah, I appreciate that, because I wouldn't be here this long if it wasn't for you.
Yeah.
And mind you, I didn't say, but that my older brothers, because I told you it's a 13-year gap, right? So in between my first brother that got killed, 6 years, right? So it had to be something going on because he wound up having my sister in between us. So I'm one of the ones that say, you stay in a fucking child's place. So I don't know what was going on or what their experiences was. I know he was never around when I was born. You think what I'm saying? I know who he is, but I don't know. I can't determine whether they mad at each other, they fighting or they doing whatever. But my older brother and them knew how he used to, you know what I mean, take my mom money and she hit the lottery, take the motherfucking lottery money. Taking the car games, he and them motherfucking cheating, cuffing cars with her right beside him. All kinds of crazy shit or whatever, you know what I mean? But at the same token, whatever impact and effect he had on her, it was still her fucking husband, you know what I mean? They, 13 years later, they fucking around had me, you know what I mean? So I never got caught up into that, and for whatever reasons, my brother couldn't let that go at the time. My other brother, he was like 50-50. Shit, he got a couple hours, he give him a couple hours. All right, I get it. But my other brother, like, yeah, all right, he'll take it like, yeah, tell Mr. Hurt I said thanks. You know what I mean? I'm like, nah, here, yo, you tell him thanks. You know what I'm saying? So the more I was around my dad, caring for him or whatever, I gradually brought those guys back in the fold. Even my sister ain't really fuck with him like that, but he was at her wedding, gave her away and all that shit, and she came back around. A lot of times they thinking the motherfucker gonna get 50 cents more than they gonna get too, so they, you know, act like they care about certain things or whatever, yo. But at the end of the day, man, my brother was still, my two other brothers, they were still bitter until his death. But I seen how much that bitterness can affect you when a motherfucker gone. Yeah. And they leave on their own terms, and you don't take the time to say what you want to say to them or whatever, so that shit eats you up. You know what I'm saying? And that's pretty much how that went, man. But I was just able and so grateful, man, to get home and to bury my mom and my dad. You know what I mean? And my mom came to see me at Furrington, where I told you the little fences at whatever day. And I was so engulfed in the church that I was opening in prayer and closing in prayer every time we went out on visit. And at this first time, it seemed like she just got old overnight. She came to see me there, and she was walking with a cane. I'd never been walking with a cane. Hair just seemed like it got gray all of a sudden. Maybe all those years she was getting a little rinse in the shit, and we never knew what color it was, right? But man, after I opened up in prayer, she just put her hands on my back and like took a deep breath and was like, old school, yes indeed. Like, yes, indeed. Like, at that moment, she exhaled, knew I had became a man. Fuck with what she thought that she wanted me to become or whatever. Nothing other than become a man and to be productive. You know what I mean? And at that point, she knew that I was consistent from the time that I had been in up until that point, doing the same thing every time they came. So, you know, she was able to exhale. So that made me feel really good, man.